it just jumped back for a second. I don't know what that means. Sorry for the awkward introduction, or whatever. I did not have enough content stuff yet to do another boot video. So for those of you who are waiting so patiently for the next boot talk, I don't know, soon. I know this is the kind of video I don't get a lot of subscribers or return viewers. I get a lot of eyeballs on stuff who watch stuff for a very short amount of time and then go on to something else, but I make them anyway. I have, of course, coming up in the next week or week and a half or so, somewhere 2 weeks-ish, will be the winter reset video, which I like to do those as well, which lets you know what I'm going to be doing for the next month or so in terms of style, regardless of whether or not that matches any current fashion trend. More often as not, no. But, you know, give you ideas as to what I'm doing to match the weather and why. And if you like what you see, then, you know, you can feel inspired or whatever. Although I'm not like an influencer that is trying to push specific brands necessarily over others, except in terms of quality. So I like to point that out, and or price. Sometimes, you know, if I find a better price, I think it makes more sense to get it, even if it's not the, you know, the equation of the durable thing and all that. Sometimes fit and comfort is slightly more important than whether or not a shirt will last 15 years, that kind of thing. Because it can be as durable as you want, and if it doesn't fit, then what good is it? Right. So I was watching another video, and I got a couple ideas. I'm not going to go into those now. But I do have so this was going to be a different video than what it kind of is, but that video is still forthcoming, and it's not technically the winter reset, early winter reset, or midwinter reset, whatever you want to call it. I'm being vague on purpose, because again, this is just a long introduction. Oh, I forgot my title card again. Where is it? It was right here. There we go. Sorry, it got buried under another piece of paper that was hiding it. What's this? Oh, Latin, right, from an old argument. Okay. So, yes, we are in part uno, part one, and hopefully the camera will focus on my face if I stop moving around so much. But yeah, I'm not getting a puppy. I'm not becoming a goblin or doing any other real costume fantasy stuff. Although some of that stuff I might touch on later, sooner or later. I'm not going to discuss decor in this video. I know sometimes I run them together, but and like I said, I'm not going to do boot talk. And I talked about this already. I'm sorry, I'm reading some notes here. I want to move that up. Okay, sorry. I could have put that in this episode if I had thought about it and grabbed some things, but it'll work better in the other episode. Okay. So I had talked about in the last video that hardly anybody watched, which was called something. Where'd it go? Or 2 videos ago, I should say, outfit plan rebuttal, I think, or maybe it was the no buy year. I don't know, episode 284 or 285, somewhere in there, I think was where I discussed it. Topic that I'll come back to. And then in 286, I did another overalls episode that kind of came out of the blue that, of course, interrupted my actual no buy year right as the beginning of the year started happening. So I did buy 2 pairs of overalls, and I won't go into the whole detail of them now, but I will say that I washed them and tried them on. Didn't wear either of them out and about yet. The big Smith ones, I wish I had babied them a little bit more in the wash instead of washing them with the Liberty ones, because I think they did shrink a little bit more. So even though I liked the fit of them initially better, now I actually like the fit of these better, and these are possibly a little bit more wedgy. But I do have to still adjust the straps a little bit and see. And I was wearing pajama bottoms underneath of them instead of with just boxer briefs or whatever you're more likely to wear under. Although my pajama bottoms, they're flannel, so they're a little bit maybe thicker than and have a waistband, and so it's not the exact same, but still, the seam I think did shrink a little bit in the seat, so they might be less comfortable than I would like. But definitely a nice texture to the fabric. These, on the other hand, I don't know, magic happened. I washed them in, I think it was warm and not hot, and I dried them both quite a bit in the dryer, though, because the pockets underneath wanted to stay damp and be still wet while the overall garment was dry. But yeah, I put them on, and even though I still don't like the feel of the fabric as much, really think they fit slightly better now than the big Smith ones. So there's that. And then I had also talked about let's put this stuff together for the next segment. I had talked about in somewhere in the comments, I had added 2 notches to this belt, one kind of for more comfort around the house now, because this was the first hole that I put in it that I thought would be tight enough, and then I think I lost actually a little bit more weight. So when I'm out walking and stuff, I added a second hole, and I didn't do quite as thorough of a job adding that hole because I was in haste and just was like, no, my pants are still falling down. I need another hole, and I didn't want to get rid of this belt yet because it cost money, and it's a little bit too long over here now, and I don't know if I'll ever trim that because, I mean, the stitching and the shape of it and everything, but it is it is a little bit floppy, so I kind of have to shift it over a little bit. But if I'm just wearing it with denim jeans, I'm not trying to look, as presentable or whatever as if I was wearing, a more dress belt with more dressy trousers. And so I had talked about how I had done, I don't know why I said part 1 when is this part 2? I don't know. This is just whatever. I had used a different Swiss Army knife with a different blade on it. So I discussed that briefly. And my method for making the hole, so I won't go into all that again. You can go back and watch the other video if you're really inclined. But so that was that. But then the Levi's themselves, of course, are part of the head-to-head challenge with the other jeans. I did post 2 photos of these, and I didn't get, super granular in detail and everything because they really still don't show that much wear. Just the fading is starting to happen a little bit. But these are now huge on me because, again, my former notches was this one and this one, mostly. Yeah, mostly this one and a little bit this one, because I had bought this belt when my other belts were too small, and so it was always a little bit long on me. It was never quite the most attractive, I guess, fit, again, with this being way more than you would typically need. I mean, you can see where the hole is and where the extra is supposed to go under the belt loop. But so it wasn't too far off, but you don't necessarily need a belt that goes under that belt loop. You could have a belt that ends a little bit after the catcher, whatever you call this bit loop, instead, and have it end here rather than have all this extra. It's kind of just a waste of leather. But again, when I got it, so it was already like that. So I was already thinking, should I trim this and have a tailor put a stitch for $5 so it'll look better? But I didn't, and now it's just way too long. But I don't care because it's winter and it's under a jacket, or something, a sweater or something most of the time. Anyway. And of course, these had these disappointing flat pocket things going on that I almost want to stitch the pocket down and not be able to use it just so it doesn't look horrible like that. My other pair doesn't do that. But so yeah, so I reinstated this challenge of the two pants to see which one will be more durable in the long run. Right before I got overalls that I kind of want to wear more. Yeah, always damned if I do, damned if I don't. Should I call it part 2 then? Well, I guess I'll still call this part 1. So the color scheme, nothing to do with denim, nothing to do with belts. But I've been sticking with the mostly gray. I stopped wearing most of the red stuff once December ended, even though I have a whole pile of it on my floor where I'm indecisive about should I put it away, should I leave it out again in the next week or so. That'll be sorted. And I'll have a better idea what I want to do. This shirt I would technically wear again tomorrow, but I already spilled some food on it and got sweat stains under the armpits and whatnot. But so this is the basic color scheme. And of course, I almost never take pictures, but I've photographed this shirt before. Something like this is often what I'm wearing under, but not always. Instead of a t-shirt, it's a Henley with more of a waffle thermal kind of texture, or like a polo shirt. What do you call it? The opposite of the jersey, the PK or peak. Anyway, so it has that bit of texture. So it's a little bit warmer-ish, a little bit thicker-ish. This one's an LL Bean one. But not always, because sometimes I'll wear the t-shirt out, let that get sweaty, and then change into this in the house so I can be a little more cozy, depending on if I'm going out in the evening or if I'm going out in the day. Because if I'm going out in the day, I don't want to be as sweaty. If I'm going out in the evening, I don't want to be as cold. But if I'm coming home, then sometimes I don't want to be as cold, blah, 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 yeah. And so I wore this briefly, the cable thing that I almost wore for the video, and then I changed. Because my hair was looking halfway decent for a change, and my, what do you call it? Dead Poet Society look instead of just sweater over the whole thing. But then also going out, I did wear, I forget if I mentioned in the previous video some of the hats that I might wear, but I haven't worn this yet, which again is kind of a costumey Indiana Jones kind of Sean Connery hat, and this one kind of a costumey Indiana Jones Indy Town hat, except this one the brim doesn't want to cooperate now because it's been in the box too long and wants to fold up instead of go down, and I want it to go down, and I keep meaning to I tried to take it into the shower room after the steam had accumulated a little bit and pulled on, and it did nothing. Like, I don't know if I need to get it to a boot barn or someplace and see if they can steam it. And of course the ribbon got messed up being tucked up into a different hat, which happened kind of recently because it's been in that hat off and on for a while. Sometimes I wear that other hat and sometimes I don't. Whereas this one, it's totally neglected so far. So this one might get worn, but depending on how these Santa Ana winds and things go, it hasn't been always as cooperative as I would like to risk having an expensive or a more expensive hat go flying down the street. And so, of course, I've been wearing this one on occasion when the wind is not so bad. Instead, I put away the brown ones and got back out the Made in USA Wrangler, which is more of a cowboy look. But that kind of goes with my Cody James mostly wool blend vest. Now, there's a company that makes a real version that's thicker, heavier wool. And what is this? Shell. Can't read it. 50% wool, 50% polyester. That one is more like 85 wool, 15 nylon, and it's a thicker, heavier, but it's also like $160, and I think this one was like $40 when I got it like a dozen years ago or 10 years ago or whatever it was. I've had this for a while and I haven't worn it out. It is a size too small, but I can button 3 of the 4 buttons or 4 of the 5 buttons or whatever most of the time. So it does okay. It's not super wind resistant or whatever, but another winter color item that I've been getting some use out of. But I have a Filson one that's more true to what that one should be, and it's green, and I don't really wear it because it's too warm most of the time, and I'm not positive. I think it's in a box in the next room. So I'll try and dig it out soon. And then, of course, I've actually been getting some use out of the tartan scarf. I don't know where this scarf actually came from. It's not extremely thick, but I'm in California. I'm not in, heavy duty winter. But I do like having it. So if you don't, there's kind of 2 ways to do it. So if you do the hipster pull, I guess, or whatever you want to call this, this gives you decent coverage without it having to be that much longer, and I can tuck this down into the coat. I didn't obviously take my time to make these ends quite even, but then you kind of adjust it before you so make sure you get the full coverage. The other way to kind of do it is kind of take it and loop around and then kind of try and cross it so that it keeps covering here. This area where sport jackets especially keep exposed more than you'd like. But I haven't been wearing sport jackets all that much. I haven't been wearing it with a cowboy vest either. Instead, I was wearing with the leather jacket on, like I said, more windy days, and then I didn't bother to bring in the leather jacket. And then I have the car coat. This one has the exact same thickness and everything quilting as the leather one, or the heavier leather one, but it does have the high hand warmer pockets and then the cargo pockets. This one's a size too small, and it's not super long. So if you wanted a pea coat would be a little bit longer. But this one, the sleeves are a bit tight to wear too much underneath of it, but I can fit a pretty bulky sweater under it. But it does not have, it's like a J.C. Penney one, so it does not have a proper closure up here for the flaps to work, which is unfortunate. But it does have the inner button. So if you can see what you're doing instead of looking at the computer screen, you can get the inner button done first, and then even if you're a bit rotund, you can still button the top 1 or 2 and you're fine. I don't typically bother with the bottom one. But again, this is like, you might want that that you don't have, but it's a car coat, not a walking coat. And so you can see it's a little tight and pulls a little bit, but I can still fit a sweater underneath of it. And it has the epaulets for no reason whatsoever. And it has, again, the fake buttonholes. I'm going to have to see, the problem is the good buttonholes on the wrong lapel, because this is the one that needs the button. So I might have to add a button up here at some point. Or I could probably use a kilt pin or a diaper pin, whatever you want to call a horse pin, here and just pin it. And that would be nice. But it works reasonably well with the scarf underneath. And then just kind of tuck the one flap and leave the other one. So that's what I've been doing now that it's finally somewhat winter of weather. For now, I guess technically, like I said, that should have been part 2, but we're still calling this part 1. So I did not wear this one. I wore the other Stormy Cromer hat. I took the tags off of this one and then didn't wear it. I'll probably wear this one These ear flaps are kind of disappointing, though. I felt like they're more for show than real function. They do have a little bit of, I don't know, they mean well, right? And they do pull down and cover your ears most of the way, but as you walk, it rides up. The flaps just go. So what I tried to do with the other one was untying this, and then the strings hung down, and it was annoying, so I had to kind of retie it loose, and that kind of helped the thing to kind of ease down and not bounce immediately right back up as much. But cool looking hat, a little bit sweaty, but not terrible. I have a different one with better ear flaps that I like a bunch more for when it's like really cold. Like if I went out now, I definitely would rather that hat than this hat. But for like daytime, this one doesn't get too hot that it's overheating or whatever ish most of the time. But again, the ear flaps not quite what I had hoped. But a nice looking hat, and less likely to catch the wind and fly away than the brim hat like the gray one, the Indiana Jones thing that I was showing, or this. Again, obviously this has a lot that can catch wind, but also blocks more sun. So if it's cold and clear out, I don't know what to tell you. Although, again, this ear flap, if it was a little more effective, would be protecting my ears from the sun more, but then might be overheating a little bit ish. I don't know, and doesn't protect the back. I do have this one I've showed before, this Duluth one that I have not worn. It has this kind of heavy leather thing, but then a big open gap, which obviously kind of partly defeats the purpose. And so I was thinking of trying to think of a way to add ear flaps to this, which I might do. DIY, right? I don't know. Haven't decided. Not super urgent because, again, I don't live in Michigan or Rochester or wherever. So not typically. And I do have heavier duty, more wilderness, outdoorsy Filson ones and things that have the other ears. Okay, so I guess I should have called that part 2 a long time ago, but I'll call it part 2 now. Part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2. Even though this should be part 3, who cares? I don't plan for this to be a super long video. I keep saying that in every video and then talking for like 40 to 50 minutes. So this one will not be 40 or 50 minutes. Like I said, if there's any other stuff I'm kind of forgetting, it doesn't matter because I'll get to it in the next video next week anyway. I will go into this that I might have talked to with him. I told him, have you tried overalls? You could need belts less with extra stuff, pockets, and instead of putting stuff on your belt, you can put stuff in the pockets and not have to worry about your pants sagging, because again, I'm having that problem with some of my pants that they want to fall down. Some places had good belts like Target, but I'm not sure what's going on with Duluth now. I have a couple of Duluth belts that might actually fit again. Well, I haven't tried them on up. I have to check some buckles out and see how they do. I tried on one of my older Western belts, and it was still a bit too tight, so not quite yet. Not comfortable anyway. I can put it on, but I can't wear it all day. Like if I wanted to take a walk and not have my pants fall down, I could definitely wear that belt, but it would not be as comfortable as what I've done there, but that might not last before I want to add a different hole or wish that hole was in a slightly different place. So I don't know why I'm calling this part whatever when I'm going back to talk about the belts that I already talked about, but whatever. I put a couple new holes in the J&M for the same reason. Lately, I don't use it as a work belt so much as casual, but the old ones I have are still a smidge too tight. I'm telling myself what I just told myself. So rather than be less comfy, I just made this one fit my new waist for now. Didn't need a hole punch so much as some patience, and would recommend some lock blade or fixed blade to better protect the fingers. And I said all this in the other video. Yikes. Okay. And then I talked about boots. So that's just me restating that for no reason. He had said he had not tried overalls, and thanks for sharing. I think was about the belt size, right? I said all this in the previous video. And then I told him my current bibs recommendation is the Big Smith ones, but I also ordered key. And this time I didn't get the key in the denim. Like I said, I got the Liberty in the denim instead, which so far I do like the fit of these, and I don't know when I'll wear these, probably Monday. Some other features and looking at some other companies for future comparison, but they cost a bit more. And I talked about this all in the bibs video in the last episode 286 or whatever, where I was going to purchase the roundhouse that Boot Barn offers, or find them on Amazon. And I think they were about the same price, but Boot Barn I had a coupon, but then with the tax, I don't know, it would have come to whatever, but I could have at least tried them on at the store. So I might still order them from Boot Barn, even though it's a no-buy year. And not, like I said, this is not a no-buy year video. I'm not going to do an update on that. I'm just talking about all this stuff that should have been in part 1, in part 2. And now I'm done talking about all that, because part 2 is supposed to be the boots, which of course I'm not going to do a boot video. I'm just mentioning that these are the boots that I wore most of the week. Again, I put the Hero boots back on the shelf after the rain went away. We had a little bit of rain, but I didn't really go out in it all that much where I needed more waterproof footwear, so I wasn't too worried about it. So these it was, and they're a little bit scuffed now. They're starting to show somewhere after maybe a month of use, quantified, however you want to talk about it. So for now, these are the ones that got worn most of the week. Tomorrow's Saturday, or well, it's already Saturday. Technically, it's after midnight in the scheme of things. So I don't know what I'll wear today, now that today is tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But the challenge, I'm not necessarily counting Saturdays, or definitely not counting Sundays. It's kind of, because those can be kind of floater days when I wear other boots that aren't necessarily in the boot list or are in the alternate boot list. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go back and watch my 8 boots in 8 weeks challenge video from a week and a half ago, which is episode 283. Because I'm not, like I said, going to make a video about that every single week, because it's just not really, the boots don't show that much wear in a week unless something goes really wrong. Yeah. In which case, unless it's a critical failure of the boot as opposed to something I did to the boot, then, it might warrant an update in which, hey, who knew that this brand delaminates and explodes upon contact with, dry ice, or, whatever, concrete, or, some random issue, or tomato sauce, who knows, right? But that's not the norm, like I said. So that's kind of silly. That's kind of 28 minutes, which is like 6 minutes longer than I expected, or more. But that's fine. So as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. Like I said, I have at least 3, I guess, similar to this-ish videos kind of planned, but they'll be a little more focused, a little more, hopefully shorter again, a little more product specific, maybe, that kind of thing, than just I don't like like I said, typically a lot of these brands aren't anything, super rare or hard to figure out. Or this is from JCPenney. This is from JCPenney. I think this was from Target. So that the coat again, JCPenney. The vest was Boot Barn. The hat was Duluth. This other was Stormy Cromer, but I got this from LL Bean when they were offering these, so I didn't actually buy this from Stormy Cromer. Oh, and these are fitted, so get them a little bit bigger than your regular size. A smidge, I think, is a safe because otherwise they're tight and they do not stretch in any kind of normal hat way when they're on. They're pretty. If it's too tight, you're not going to be happy. If it's a little too loose, you can probably cinch it up with some thread or something. And I don't think if you went up an eighth of an inch increment from like 7 1/4 to 7, because I don't usually wear 7 3/8. A lot of my hats are actually 7 1/8. So, yeah, usually 7 1/2 is kind of big on me. So this fits me pretty well. What little I've tried it on, I haven't, like I said, I haven't worn it out yet. I wore the other one out, but the other one is also 7 3/8. I know because I checked before I did the video, and I wore that one for most of December, not all of autumn, because it was way too hot in autumn to wear a Stormy Cromer hat. But that one was more of a plaid, autumny kind of looking thing. So I put it away for this one now, and we'll see how it goes. And once again, I'm kind of at the point where I'm sort of babbling. And Thursday boots, right? Thursday, but not necessarily the boots I would recommend to everybody. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. Again, I do a lot more boot videos, and most of my viewers watch boot videos. So if you're new here, thanks for watching this content instead of just boots, I guess. All right, I'll shut up now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I know there's a bunch of other stuff, like I said, I want to talk to you, but I'm intentionally not talking about it now. So you can enjoy your weekend and hopefully watch this, even if you have to watch it 10 minutes at a time or whatever.